Are you contemplating taking the plunge into the world of Eorzea? Maybe you're a longtime Final Fantasy fan, or you're completely new to the franchise and you're looking for a new MMORPG to experience. The number one question I'm asked while streaming is, should I play Final Fantasy XIV? Is this game any good? So I decided to make a video that gives you an idea of what Final Fantasy XIV is about and how to start your journey. First, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Minda. I'm a Final Fantasy XIV and variety streamer and have been playing Final Fantasy for nearly 3 years. I have completed all available Savage tiers of the current and past expansions and specialize in the healing role. I'm also totally new to YouTube, and this is my first video about Final Fantasy XIV. I am specifically launching this video in accordance with patch 5.3 Reflections in Crystal, which will be available on August 11th, 2020. This is because of the major changes and additions being implemented to welcome new players. Some changes include the main scenario questline of the base game, A Realm Reborn, will be more streamlined and condensed to help new players progress and have a better quality experience starting the game. Square Enix is also adding the Heavensward expansion to free trial accounts. Players can now level up to 60 and have access to Heavensward content, including the main scenario questline, the Aura race, Astrologian, Machinist, and Dark Knight jobs. Here are some examples of why you should consider playing Final Fantasy XIV. Players more often than not are extremely welcoming and will go out of their way to answer any questions and guide you along the path to success in the game. I believe most people in the community genuinely care for one another and want to provide you with the best experience possible. Of course, that can't be said for everyone, and you'll probably come across your share of awkward moments, but please don't let that deter you from the rest of the community this game has to offer. This is good and bad. The game definitely doesn't throw you into the fray right away and gives you ample time to get used to the playstyle and become acquainted with the world of Eorzea. However, some players view this as a very slow start compared to other MMOs, but hopefully the condensing of the main scenario questline will balance things out accordingly. If you've played World of Warcraft, then you've probably downloaded and configured a bunch of add-ons such as Bartender, Healbot, and countless others that I can't remember. Final Fantasy XIV's UI comes equipped with everything you need to start the game, and it's all customizable to your liking. This can be overwhelming at first, but there are lots of guides available to help you navigate through your settings. Final Fantasy in general has always been noted for their beautiful cinematography, character designs, landscapes, and captivating music. Despite its age, Final Fantasy XIV is still one of the most visually pleasing MMOs on the market, and content additions will always leave you amazed at its beauty. The release of Shadowbringers in 2019 brought a lot of attention and immense praise to the gameplay and storytelling in particular. The game itself has won countless awards over the years, but I believe Shadowbringers really made an impact in the MMORPG world, and since then has been a rapidly growing community. This is a huge perk to the game and something I believe future MMORPGs should be implementing. Final Fantasy XIV gives you the freedom to play any number of classes you'd like without the repercussions of having to start an entirely new character, go through the main scenario questline again, and waste hours on a class you may not even enjoy. Everything you do remains on one single character, saving you time and the ability of testing the waters of potential new roles/classes, giving you an entirely new experience of gameplay. This one is self-explanatory. Players have the option to play on either PC or PS4 with no separation of each other. There is no advantage to choosing either platform, and the game has been seamlessly designed to fit your preferences. I'm a huge fan of progressing through challenging boss fights and gearing up to the highest possible item level. If you watch my stream, you'll know I'm absolutely masochistic and love wiping to bosses for hours on end. Final Fantasy XIV's boss designs never cease to excite players and can be attempted by players of all skill levels. Don't be intimidated by the difficulty of this as a new player though. Throughout the game, you will slowly be introduced to the mechanics of boss fights and will surely recognize a good number of them by the time you reach endgame content. Take your time learning and have fun. Even the most seasoned raiders make lots of mistakes, especially myself. Endgame also has a lot to offer outside of combat. Players say the true endgame of Final Fantasy XIV is coming up with the most creative glamours. Glamour, which is similar to transmog in World of Warcraft, allows you to create different looks on top of your armor. Whether you want to look like your favorite video game character, show off your glowy weapons, or be a shredded chocobo, the sky's the limit with over 1,000 different clothing options available for free in-game or the cash shop called the Mog Station. Besides that, there are plenty of activities such as additional quests to deepen your knowledge of the lore, owning and decorating a home, leveling up your crafting and gathering, or just hanging out with your friends and enjoying each other's company. I would have to make an entirely separate video on what there is to do when you reach level cap, but this should give you a good idea of what's in store. Final Fantasy XIV doesn't focus too much on the PvP aspect of the game. There are certainly a number of players who enjoy the PvP activities available, but the game is more PvE oriented in general. I'm personally not a fan whatsoever, especially coming from World of Warcraft and being heavily into arenas and battlegrounds. Back to this point, the first few hours of the game can feel a little slower than most MMORPGs, especially if you have experience in the genre. A lot of players don't make it past the base game because of how slowly combat skills are introduced and the length it takes to progress through the main scenario questline. Again, hopefully the new updates will make this experience more enjoyable. I've heard people having a wide range of difficulties, from simply downloading and starting the game from the launcher to server stability issues that can affect your performance in raids and dungeons. This is obviously a pain to deal with, and it's due to the older engine Final Fantasy XIV runs on. I don't see any changes being made soon to help, but the team definitely works hard to minimize issues in-game. So, where do we begin? I always recommend downloading the free trial to get a feel for the game before you invest your money. The trial has no time limit, and starting from August 11, 2020, with the addition of Heavensward, the level cap has increased from 35 to 60, and players can experience 13 out of 18 unique jobs available in the game. That is over 100 hours of free content to experience versus the previous 50 hours. The rest of the classes and races can be unlocked by purchasing the complete edition of Final Fantasy XIV, or if you purchase the starter edition, can upgrade to Shadowbringers or the latest available expansion, which includes all previous expansions. You can purchase the game on either Steam, the Square Enix store, or on the PlayStation store. These licenses are completely separate and cannot be switched, so if you plan to play on the PC and your PS4, you must purchase individual licenses for each platform. The game also comes with a 30-day subscription, and once that period has passed, playtime must be purchased monthly, which ranges from $13 to $15 USD. Your server will be located in one of the following places: North America, Europe, or Japan. Each region houses 2 to 3 data centers, which represents a number of worlds named after various creatures, monsters, and other notable things in the Final Fantasy universe. The main thing to consider is which data center you will be playing on. Ideally, you will want to choose the same data center as your friends to queue up for content, but don't necessarily have to be in the same world because of the cross-world visiting option available in-game. All worlds have different population numbers that can affect queue times while logging in, or the ability to create new characters. Another feature available, which I strongly recommend as a new player, are preferred worlds. These servers are typically lower populated and offer double EXP gain on everything. So if you plan to level multiple classes, this is a great option. You also have a higher chance of owning an in-game home or free company house, since there are a limited number of plots and wards available and will most likely be taken in higher populated servers. Keep in mind that if you choose a preferred world, that character is locked for 90 days and cannot be transferred to a new server. Also, depending on the growth of the preferred world, the status is not permanent and can change back to a normal world in the future. When creating a new character, your gender, race, clan, along with birth date and deity, have zero impact on your character's attributes or overall gameplay, so feel free to choose whatever interests you. The current playable races in the game are here: Mikote, Elizin, Lalafell, Rogadin, Aura, Viera, and Hrothgar. A few of these races are only available with the corresponding expansions. The Aura require Heavensward, which is now available in the free trial, and the Viera and Hrothgar, which require Shadowbringers. Another unique note is race gender locking. Currently, Viera characters can only be female, whereas Hrothgar characters can only be male. You also have the ability to change your character's hairstyle, hair color, makeup, and other unique details, such as aura scales, throughout the game when unlocking the Esthetician. If you, however, decide to change your character's race, appearance, or gender, you may do so by purchasing a file of Fantasia from the Mog Station store for 10 USD, or receive a free Fantasia after completing the level 50 finale quest of A Realm Reborn, the Ultima Weapon. Once you've created a character, you must choose a starting job. This decision will also dictate what city you will start in. This will also change the beginning of the main scenario questline, which will eventually merge together at level 15. The three starting cities are Gridania, Ul'dah, and Limsa Lominsa. If you have a preference on what city you'd like to start in, here's a list to help guide your decision. To start in Gridania, players can choose to become a Conjurer, which is a healing class and becomes a White Mage, Lancer, which is a DPS class and becomes Dragoon, and Archers, which is another DPS class and becomes a Bard. To start in Limsa Lominsa, players may choose Arcanist, which is a 2-for-1 DPS and healer, which becomes both a Scholar and Summoner, and Moraders, which is a tank role and becomes a warrior. To start in Ul'dah, players must choose Thaumaturge, which is a DPS and becomes a Black Mage, Pugilist, another DPS, which becomes a monk, and Gladiator, which is a tank and becomes a paladin. Choosing a job can be difficult and overwhelming, so I recommend looking up videos on each job to get an idea of what you feel comfortable playing. My tip is, if you think it looks cool, just play it. All classes are balanced very well, and there is no favoritism for any class in endgame content. You also have the ability to switch classes freely throughout your journey, so there's no fear of being locked down or changing your mind. Unless you decide to buy a story skip, which allows you to skip to the most recent expansion's questline, almost all content will be barred behind the main scenario questline, and you'll have to complete it in order to unlock endgame content. I highly recommend playing through this story because of how critically acclaimed it is, and there is simply no need to rush to endgame. It is also recommended you complete the main scenario questline and not get too distracted, because that will be your main source of EXP for the time being. Something you will use very often is your duty finder. This lets you queue up for various dungeons, trials, and raids. More importantly, the Duty Finder offers daily roulettes. Queuing up for these gives you a daily bonus per category you complete. This is essential for leveling up all your classes, as the bonus is definitely worthwhile. If you decide that you're more interested in endgame content, which is totally up to you and I will not judge you for it, there are story skips and level skips sold separately. I do, however, strongly recommend you level up from 1 to Cap in order to be properly introduced to the class and its playstyle, or else you will feel very overwhelmed with the amount of skills thrown at you at the higher levels. Again, this is completely up to you and how you'd like to experience the game. Honestly, this is only scratching the surface of what Final Fantasy XIV has to offer. There is so much more content and additional features that you will discover along your journey throughout the game. I sincerely hope what I've told you in this video will give you a good idea of what's in store and if this game is right for you. Whether you're looking to connect with people around the world, defeat the toughest bosses and have bragging rights, or just simply immersing yourself in the beautiful world of Eorzea, Final Fantasy XIV is truly one of the best MMORPG experiences available. It also inspired me to start streaming and becoming a content creator, so who knows what impression this game will leave on you. I hope it's a positive one. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to let me know what you think of this video in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing to my channel. That would mean the world to me. You can also chat with me live on twitch.tv/MidnaBaby and check out some additional Final Fantasy XIV gameplay.